All right. Good evening, everyone. I am a K-5 STEAM instructor at West Clayton Elementary STEAM Magnet School. Did you guys hear me say K-5? All right, so that means, much like what I say to my students every day, I will need your help. Okay? So, almost there. There we go. When you guys see this slide tonight, I need you to say very loudly, very clearly, yes, but can it be improved? Okay, y'all got it?
Got
All right, let's get started. Hello, my name is Akilah Williams, and I am a K-5, I'm the K-5 STEAM instructor at West Clayton Elementary STEAM Magnet School.
Yes, but can it be improved?
A little bit louder, guys, a little bit louder. Absolutely! Why, yes, it can. Good evening, everyone. My name is Akilah Williams. My name is Miss Williams. Miss Williams. Miss Williams. And I am the K-5 STEAM instructor at West Clayton STEAM Magnet School.
Yes, but can it be
I
improved?
love that. Absolutely. I think it can. Good evening. My name is Akilah, and today I want to introduce myself to you using a little rhythm and a little beat. We're going to boost it up a little bit. If you guys can't see it, that's my name spelled using Chrome Lab. And if I had to put my name in sound and music, it might sound like that, a little quirky. Thank you so much, technicians. I appreciate it. Can you guys guess what slide is going to come next?
Yes.
There we go. So why don't we go ahead and say it?
Yes, but can it be improved?
That's a great question. Can it? And if it can be improved, how? And even if we know the how, why? Why do we innovate and improve? Why do we change for the better for our students? These two simple, arts-integrated, technology-based teaching strategies are examples of the bite-sized changes and innovations that can be made to transform the educational climate. Psychologist Nathaniel Branden was quoted as saying, "The first step to change is awareness. The second is acceptance." That is why I ask why. Why can it be improved? But more importantly, why I ask, why must it be? Because meaningful change starts with being aware that we need to change, And that's where our work begins. As educators, we are fully aware that our most meaningful impact is on the many young minds that grace our educational learning environments. So why? Because as Norman Vincent Peale stated, if we can change our thoughts, if we can change our practices, our pedagogy, if we are willing to change our learning environments and the tools that we teach with, then we can change our world. I have had the absolute pleasure of working with some truly out-of-the-box thinkers, and I do mean my students, okay, in this district to come to the conclusion that I must become innovative before I can ever teach innovation. In addition, my recent research around innovation in STEAM and technology-based instruction has exposed me to the vast variety of tools and theories that live inside the walls of education, but actually permeate through society. Today, I aim to facilitate a group thought experiment that explores the rediscovery of innovation through STEAM education. As a leader at a soon-to-be, mark my words, magnet school in the district, I will share my thoughts on the implications of innovation in spaces that use it as a foundational aspect of all learning environments. Oftentimes, in interviews, they ask a question similar to this. Describe a time when you faced a difficult decision or a challenging problem that forced you to pivot. How did you handle it? You guys ever heard that one? Ever gotten that one? Yeah, I think you all have. It's kind of hearing the speech as I was writing it that I really settled on the answer to that question. I once left a school because I became aware of my desire to grow, and I became aware of the desire, or the lack of desire, that my environment had. It wasn't ready to grow with me. And at that time, as a young professional, I wasn't really quite sure what to do, but now that I've made my final decision and I did change locations, I kind of carry this motto with me. Don't go where you can't grow. Robert F. Kennedy was quoted as saying, "Progress is a nice word, but change is its motivator, and change has its enemies." Progress is nice. It sounds really cute. It's really beautiful, like a garden. I am the gardener. I'm over the garden at my school, so I really want a very beautiful and vast array of fruit and vegetables and flowers. And it would be so nice, just like progress rate would be, or is, when you like put it on a motto or on a poster, or you put it in a mission statement. But change is typically seen as its evil twin, right? Like, you guys are related, but change, you're a little weird. I don't know about you. We, though, especially us in this room, and what I believe in this county, we are not enemies of change, nor are we fearful of it. We know that it is essential to our future becoming better than our past. I knew that who I was as a third-year teacher was going to have to change drastically by the time I became a 10th-year teacher, because the students that I would be teaching would be, and so would the environment that they would be growing up in. I think we all understand and we know that for a garden to become beautiful and big, it must start with a tiny seed that pushes through discomfort, pushes through the unknown, pushes through the darkness, into what I would assume to the plant would be a very blinding light, way before it could ever produce more seeds. Change for the better is innovating even when we don't have all of the necessary tools, even when it's dark, even when it's discomfort, it's uncomfortable, even when we don't know what's on the other side. Frederick Douglass stated that if there is no struggle, then there is no progress. Are we ready to progress into this digital future? The struggle is certainly upon us, and a blinding light is most definitely on the other side. But at our best work, we are the seed. So earlier, when I asked you guys if it could be improved, when you guys asked me if it could be improved, I actually could have used the Scratch platform. Has anybody ever used Scratch before? Yeah, okay, great, we got some, okay, now and some notes, I love that. Okay, have you used it with content, Mrs. Dr. Riley? No? Okay. Speaking of new seeds, this is my first year using it with content. And I was so excited. Because you guys remember that feeling of, becoming that teacher who introduces students to something new and exciting and creating this wonderful lesson plan, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're gonna eat it up. You guys remember that feeling? It is a wonderful feeling. I'm teaching my 3rd and 4th grade students to use it. They're creating storyboards. This was the one that I actually showed them. But that feeling of excitement, that I can't wait to teach this feeling, is exactly what constructionism, the theory of constructionism, is built on. The best learning, it says in constructionism, takes place when the learner is in a creative, almost playful-like state of creation. They use new knowledge and old knowledge to design, to create something. Much like the introduction from earlier, and the Scratch projects that I'm completing with my students, we know that prior knowledge is a foundation to learning something new. Like, I do know my name, but do I know how to deal with body percussion? My students read stories. They can read, they can write, but do they know how to create in Scratch? Do they know how to code it and tell that same story? Yasmin B. Kafai, alongside Mitchell Resnick, in a joint editorial, state that knowledge is not simply transmitted from teacher to student, but actively created in the mind of the learner. In other words, children don't get ideas. We can't put an idea in a child's mind, they make them. STEAM education, as an extension of the constructionist learning theory, carves a path for students to explore those ideas that they've always had using tools and information that they are being given. As a matter of fact, I just spoke to Mr. Rodriguez today. He said that he had an elementary school student who met him in high school. She was inspired by what he did there, and she took that inspiration all the way to high school to learn the French horn, was it? Yeah, that's exactly what we want our students to do. With the integration of arts into technical subjects like in STEM, that element of creativity arises that brings about that joy that I spoke of when learning and implementing like Scratch. And this theory does not just live in research. It lives in classrooms, especially in magnet schools, where innovation isn't optional, it's the expectation. The constructionist model through the STEAM lens challenges teachers to let go of the reins of instruction and allow for a greater student agency in their learning. And that is the guiding light of school choice. Students are given permission to learn on their own terms. Imagine that. This is a marked benefit of magnet schools, learner agency. Because more often than not, schools in their curriculum can offer more constraints and opportunities, especially at the elementary school, I might add. Primarily because we know what students need to learn, right? Magnet schools infuse what students need to learn with what they want to learn. Mitchell Resnick, again, and Karen Brennan, in another important article, highlight the way that teachers and educators and leaders alike must shift their understanding of what learning is away from what we must do to students or what we must do for students to what students do for themselves. Learners learn. And by taking ownership of their own learning, they find a greater joy in doing it. In other words, when they enjoy learning, they want to do more. And isn't that what we want from them? Don't we want our elementary school students to say, I want to keep learning the French horn? Incorporating the PBL learning model challenges both leaders and learners to transform their expectation of learning. Leaders must identify, I told you that's a secret. Leaders must identify how content engulfs a student's life outside of the classroom. And they must bring that identity into the classroom for their learners. Learners then are tasked with making a personal connection with the content that allows them to take that learning outside of the classroom and impact the greater society. When students are invited to build knowledge through learning experiences with personal meaning, they don't just learn content, they embody it. But why, Miss Williams? But why, Miss Williams? I want you guys to find an elbow partner. If it's a trio, just know that you'll have to rock, paper, scissors for the cash money. All right, find a trio, find a partner. Here we go. With you and your team, or your trio, I want you to think of the greatest number of skills that you believe a child could learn by saying their name in body percussion. Okay, so this was body percussion that I did earlier. What do you think some skills students could learn? What do you think are some skills that students can learn by learning just how to say their name using body percussion? I'm going to give you 60 seconds. I need the team with the most. Ready, set, go. Find somebody. about 10 more seconds. Keep count. And time. All right. Who thinks that they have the most? All right. I'm just gonna ask groups. How many guys got? 5. 8. Ooh. 7. 8 is a competition. 7. 5. 6 or 7. Okay, I'm gonna go with you guys over here. Can you just give me about 4 of them? What you got?
Rhythm, patience, communication, sound.
Oh, I like that. I love it. What do you guys got? Wait, no, you guys had 7. I'm so sorry. What about you guys?
Fine motor skills, patience.
Patience is good.
Dance. What was that?
All right. Okay. I might have to do cash money there because you guys couldn't rattle it off. But that was really great. And I wonder if adults could learn patience with this too. I think that might be what you guys were trying to tell me. This is an exercise that requires a little patience. All right. Well, here's what I've got. Did I tell you guys that you were competing against me too? So let's see who got the most. Here we go. Rhythm, vibration, sounds, patterns, counting, fractions, syllables, phonemic awareness, time and tempo, beat, memory, coordination, collaboration, body awareness, self-expression, creativity, precision, communication, confidence, public speaking, and my favorite at the end, cultural appreciation. I'm gonna add patience, so I'm gonna call that 20. That was 19, I think. What started as just a fun way to introduce yourself becomes science. It becomes math, it becomes communication, it becomes culture. That's not just a learning moment in the classroom. That is a workforce skill set. These skills, along with many other content skills and 21st century skills, are in high demand now by companies seeking to outdo competition, and even more importantly, by countries, whole countries seeking to do the same. This new workforce must continually innovate to create new knowledge, not simply master existing knowledge. There is a blinding light. I am saying it now. There is a blinding light on the other side of the growth that is required to make these disruptive yet necessary changes to education. The world is in dire need of a workforce that thinks differently than before. The themes of many magnet schools require teachers, students, and stakeholders alike to think outside of the box, outside of the traditional classroom structure. Themes such as STEM, fine and performing arts, career and technical education, world language, immersion, challenge teachers and students to change the way that they make curricular connections. Specifically, the STEAM theme was developed in 2006 by Georgette Yackman. She stated that by adding in a focus of helping kids develop a creative mindset and other related skills, educators give our youth even more opportunities to be successful in real-world, professional, and problem-solving situations. And yet, even with all of this potential constructionism, STEAM, real-world readiness, there's a tension here in the classroom, in our schools, in our districts that we cannot ignore. Because the truth is, the more transformative a practice, the more it challenges the comfort of tradition. You guys remember how I talked about change being that evil twin sometimes. According to the Magnet Schools of America Blueprint for Strong Magnet Schools, in the section titled Change and Its Impact, it highlights a reality that we don't quite talk about enough. That even in spaces that are built for innovation through education, we can become bound by old ways of thinking, old ways of doing things. They use a scene from The Lion King to make this point. When Simba realizes that he can't move forward, you guys, if you haven't seen Lion King in a long time, go check it out, right? He realizes that he is going to have to face those old beliefs, those old fears, his past. He says, I'm going back. And for many educators, that's exactly where the challenge begins. We don't resist innovation because we don't believe in it. I believe most educators do. We resist it because it asks us to leave what's comfortable. The blueprint introduces the CBAM, concerns-based adoption model, a research framework that outlines the stages of resistance and acceptance, especially when it comes to technology and instructional change. These barriers can be personal, managerial, philosophical. These barriers are real, and they're real in our classrooms. But so is the potential on the other side. We must become innovative in order to produce the kind of change that doesn't just update our classrooms and our bulletin boards and our websites, but transforms the entire culture of education. So the next time that you are planning a unit, or you are designing a lesson, or you're talking to a colleague, or you're speaking at Magnet Spark, I want you to ask a question, very important question.
Yes, but can it be improved?
Because the answer is always. If we are willing to change, then so can the future of education. But if so, how? And since we know how, why not now? Thank you.